Hey guys, what's up? It's time for the Raw review for January 9th, 2012. Right off the bat, what can I say about this? Not a lot of in-ring action this week, I found. A lot of stories are being told, a lot of the key elements leading up to the Royal Rumble, leading up to WrestleMania, that I'm sure I will get into more detail as the Road Signs series goes on, but not, as far as a show tonight being a show on its own, not a lot of in-ring action for the show to stand alone with. It's my first thought, but here we go. We start the show with Kane. Thank God we did not start the show with Cena again. Gives a big, long promo shoot, I guess you'd call it, about why he embraces the hate and what it's like to embrace the hate, and why everybody that doesn't embrace the hate is a hypocrite or a liar or they're in denial. And it's great. Kane's mic skills, and I'm guilty of this myself. Kane's mic skills are very, very under-recognized. He's very surreal when he speaks, and it works for him. Cena, of course, tries to Superman to the ring and, you know, be nah, and, you know, go and slay the dragon type deal, but no, he gets owned. And he gets owned through the crowd. And he gets owned through the back, and they take out like 5 or 6 or 7 people in the hallway on the way out the door, and he's left laying by Kane in the outdoor region where all the trucks are and whatnot, on a pile of garbage. And this is I like this segment only because, and I said the same thing when I saw the Randy Orton and Wade Barrett matches the last couple of weeks. WWE for a while really lost the art of the backstage brawl, and it's really, the backstage brawl is really kind of a fun thing, because, you know, depending on what arena you go to, they're not all the same. It's a different kind of thing. You see people in the ring and it's all the same. You see people in the back, in the aisleways, in the change rooms, or, you know, especially like they did tonight, leading all the way to the outside and fighting around the concrete and all that. It's one of those things that really adds a lot of variety, even if it's just the scenery. So it's really cool to see that they're doing that again. But he's left laying by Kane. He smacks Kane in the leg with a crowbar, and Kane just turns around and clocks him in the face and sends him into the garbage, which is nice. The other plus of that I really think is really poetic, John Cena, undeservingly, is already the poster boy for WrestleMania this year, and when they were outside, he was beating down Cena in front of a truck that had Cena's face on it. I think that's fun. You know, most of the Cena marks would call me a horrible person and a bully for saying that, but I really don't care, because Cena sucks. Moving on. Now, anybody that saw my last Road Signs video knows that I'm not a particular fan of Sheamus and Wade Barrett, but their emerging rivalry does intrigue me a lot, and it already has an anchor tied to it by the now involvement of Jinder Mahal. So when you've got an anchor, why not tie on another anchor like Santino Marella? Oh, yes, we had Santino Marella and Sheamus versus Wade Barrett and Jinder Mahal. Wade Barrett didn't get in this match much at all. The two jobbers fought each other for a while. Sheamus beat on Jinder for a while. The jobbers fought each other some more, and Santino beat Jinder Mahal with the Cobra. And I proceed to want those 5 minutes of my life back. The other thing that was really annoying about this match, if I even bothered to care at all, Michael Cole spent the entire match explaining the significance of Jinder Mahal's turban, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody's culture out there listening, if there's anybody listening to this video of Indian descent, but it has nothing to do with the match, especially when he takes it off to fight. As I say, not trying to offend anybody, but if you take off the turban to fight, then the turban becomes irrelevant as far as calling the match. Just saying, and it's Michael Cole, so yeah. Come back from commercial break, we have The Miz talking to John Laurinaitis, complaining about the R-Truth situation, and John Laurinaitis basically saying that he's too busy to help The Miz, but if Miz wants to go out and get his own security, John Laurinaitis doesn't have a problem with that. I find it interesting because, you know, Laurinaitis is doing the typical heel boss thing and backing all the heels, and it's really interesting that he doesn't even bother helping The Miz. I don't quite know how that fits as far as Laurinaitis' character, but whatever. He had the line of the night, in the early going of the night anyways, and he says, "Hey Miz, just remember, I'm not Little Jimmy, I'm Big Johnny." Didn't mean anything, didn't tell him anything, and whatever, but yeah. And then we find out 2 important bits of information. 1, Brodus Clay is finally going to debut tonight, which I was kind kind of excited about, because they've held off on it forever and ever and ever, and that we're going to start announcing the inductees for 2012 Hall of Fame class. Now, come back from break, and oh, yes, I'm Canadian and I am biased, but the fact that the very first inductee this year is Edge, I marked like a motherfucker. I don't even care. I live a 20-minute drive from Toronto. I'm gonna be an Edge fan. It's gonna happen. I mean, hell, I was a Val Venus fan and a Test fan, so I might as well back Edge. Trish Stratus, Christian, Gail Kim, Bobby Roode. Yeah, Toronto contributes a lot to the wrestling industry, doesn't it? But being serious, the last SmackDown I was at after the cameras went off is when Christian, Trish Stratus, and Rhino did the retirement celebration thing with Edge, and I felt very, very fortunate to be part of that as a Canadian wrestling fan, as a Toronto Canadian wrestling fan, and now the next logical step is for him going into the Hall of Fame. So why wait 5 more years until, you know, he's become a little less relevant? Why not, you know, as the old expression goes, strike while the fire is still hot, and get him in there now while the audience knows who he is and remembers who he is, especially with the audience of the WWE being younger and the attention spans being not as long as they should be, etc. Bottom line, I'm rambling. Edge is going into the Hall of Fame. I'm a happy kid. Now, Miz, in the back, starts looking for bodyguards. They show him asking Mason Ryan, and Mason Ryan basically laughing at him. We then see Ryder talking to Eve, trying to say how the attack from Kane was no big deal, and da-da-da-da-da. And as they walk away, you see Kane hiding behind the door, watching Ryder more or less talk shit about him to impress Eve. So you're like, okay, that's going to go somewhere. Next match we have is Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan, and you're thinking like I'm thinking, this was not a very long match at all. It was about a 2-minute squash. Kingston got some of his, you know, stereotypical high-flying stuff in. Daniel Bryan locks in the LaBelle lock in no short order and gets the win. Show comes out to Bryan and announces that they are going to be having a rematch for the World Heavyweight Championship next Friday on SmackDown, and it will be no disqualifications. So we're all assuming Show is going to, you know, destroy Daniel Bryan. But whatever. Next was Brodus Clay's debut against Curt Hawkins. For now, I say no comment, and I will get to it later on. We go back to the back again. We have Zack Ryder in the bathroom trying to psych himself up in the mirror for his date with Eve and this and that and the next thing. And we see Miz asking Primo and Epico if they will protect him against R-Truth. Then we have CM Punk versus Jack Swagger. John Laurinaitis comes down and says if Punk wins, Swagger and Vicky Guerrero will be banned from the World Heavyweight Championship match at the Royal Rumble between Punk and Ziggler. So I'm thinking, okay, so John Laurinaitis is going to screw over Punk, and they're all going to be around ringside at the Rumble, and it's going to be a clusterfuck. But not really. And he also announces that Ziggler is going to face John Cena later tonight. The match was average. The only thing that really sticks out to me in this match is it has to be said once again, CM Punk is one of the masters of the suicide dive as far as WWE superstars go. The only other one maybe being Daniel Bryan. But CM Punk does it better than anybody else, clearly, in the WWE, because almost nobody else in the WWE does it. Oh, yes. Punk wins with sort of a funny call, and I don't really know what the meaning of the funny call was supposed to be. Punk got the win, got the pinfall, when the pin was really only a 2.5 count. But, I guess this is Laurinaitis pretending to be the nice guy so we can screw Punk later on. I really don't care. Anyways, we go back to the back, and Miz tries to recruit Ricardo Rodriguez, of all people, to help him with the R-Truth situation. He says, you're going to go out to the ring, you're going to insult R-Truth, and I'm going to do the rest. Ricardo says no, Miz threatens him, he says, okay, whatever, and the Bellas laugh at him because they're there too, and, you know, because they're sucking off Alberto, clearly. But, yes, we cut away from that. We have another Hall of Fame announcement. The entire original Four Horsemen, Tully Blanchard, Barry Windham, Arn Anderson, and Ric Flair. I hope I have those names right, or historians are going to get on my ass. The entire Four Horsemen as a whole are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Okay, fair enough. Ricardo comes out, says a bunch of really, really lame things about R-Truth, like your mother's ugly and she has a mustache and this and that, and it was kind of funny for what it was, I guess. Truth comes out, goes nuts on him, he says, I want you to entertain me and all the little Jimmies, I want you to sing, and friggin' Ricardo Rodriguez starts singing La Cucaracha and turns it into a remix, which was really sad. Then R-Truth gets him with that, I don't know what that falling reverse DDT thing is that he does. I think at one point he was calling it the Little Jimmy's Revenge, but I don't know what they're calling it anymore. So he basically puts Ricardo flat on his face, and Miz jumps him. He jumps Miz back, gets the upper hand, chases Miz out of the building. We then hear that we are next going to hear from Jericho. Jericho's announced. Jericho, in his announcement, makes sure that he is announced as Chris Jericho, the only man to beat The Rock and Austin in one night. The only man, the first man to ever be the WWE Undisputed Championship, which, on a side note, you know they need to bring back. But anyways, Jericho comes out once again, does his laps around the ring, does the crowd cheering this way, the crowd cheering this way, etc. Grabs a microphone and sarcastically pretends to be so broken up by the emotion of the moment that he leaves again. So, as is becoming the popular term here in the YWC, the crowd got JeriTrolled again. I think it's brilliant. I think I think most people are on board with the whole JeriTroll thing now. People have various different definitions on where they think this is actually going, which is fine and whatever. But for now, even if it turns out to be something lame, even in the meantime, they're building curiosity and they're building anticipation, because this is somebody we know is great on the mic. It's not like it's a new superstar and we've never heard them talk before. It's not like a Goldberg situation or something like that. It's somebody we legitimately know and love and know is good on the mic, and instead he's denying us that. And I think that is the most brilliant part of the whole thing, is that we know what we're missing. But anyways, enough about Jericho. Then, you were supposed to have a match for the #1 contendership to the Divas Championship, and it was Eve's big chance to get another title match, and it ends up being Eve versus ... and then we hear Kane's music. So Zack Ryder runs out to the ring, escorts Eve out of the building. They're running, they get to the car, and the car has a flat tire. So what does he do? Instead of, doing a smart thing, like getting another car, or calling a cab, or running away, puts Eve in the car and tries to change the tire, which was super lame, because he's trying to crank the tire off the car without a jack before they went to commercial break. Somebody must have mentioned it during the break, because when we got back from commercial break, the car was actually jacked up with a proper jack. But we show him, and he's still trying to change the tire, and he's still rushing it, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's really, really, really lame. And, yeah. So we go from that entirely unfinished situation to Ziggler versus Cena, where okay, so something's going to happen with Ryder, with Kane, Cena's going to leave, da-da-da-da. The one thing I did like about this match, Cena went down for most of this match, actually. Ziggler hung tough with Cena the whole time until we saw, Ryder getting attacked by Kane on the Titantron. Cena tries to leave to go help him out. What happened? Ziggler choked him out, basically tosses off Ziggler outside the ring and runs to help Ryder. Now, here's the thing. We don't necessarily technically know what the call was for this match, because obviously Cena left, so he got counted out. Ziggler was on the outside of the ring when the referee started his count, and when the count got to about 5, they cut the cameras to the outside, to the whole Cena-Kane situation. So we don't know if Ziggler made it back into the ring and he won by count out or not. So that's kind of But we get to the outside just in time to see Kane chokeslam Ryder off the loading dock of the building onto a pile of pallets and whatever, and a couple of the beams on the pallet broke, and it looked very dramatic and whatever. And once again, Kane took out Cena, choked him out, and is left standing high as the show ends. Always, guys, I don't make any secret of this. I can't stand Cena. Cena gets beat down at the beginning of the show, Cena gets beat down at the end of the show. I'm going to call it a good show, no matter who did it. I don't care. I'm at that point now where I'm not trying to be the nice guy and not trying to be neutral and, all the Cena marks that want to go out there and are plastering, and I've seen it. Trust me, I've seen it on different, comments on different people's videos and whatever. People out there trying to make me out to be a bully because I do nothing but make fun of Cena and make fun of the Cena marks. Well, you're sheep, and if you're going to be sheep, you're going to be made fun of. That's it. I'm done with trying to be nice to sheep. Moving on. I catch enough shit for being a Jeff Hardy fan, and by the way, for anybody that watches TNA, Hardy got screwed at Genesis last night. I'm putting that one out there right now. I don't really care. Now... Scores, fails, and MVP before I ramble anymore. Scores, fails, and MVP for the January 9th, 2012 Monday Night Raw Super Show. Kane on the mic. I mentioned it already. Kane on the mic, well underutilized, well underappreciated, needs to be done more. A, because he's good. B, because him on the mic means Cena off the mic. Moving on. I already mentioned it, but I'm going to say it again. Cena getting beaten down in front of a truck that has his face on it makes me smile. A lot. It's true. John Laurinaitis, not usually in my score category, but as I said, he did have the line of the night, I'm not little Jimmy, I'm Big Johnny. And you know what, for the arrogant, heel boss character that he's playing, that's a perfect line to throw at somebody. Now, did it make sense that he was throwing it at another heel? Not necessarily, but it still made me mark nonetheless. Daniel Bryan's heel turn. And it's not to say that I like Daniel Bryan's heel turn, but I don't have an opinion about it yet. I'm still very, very intrigued, and if I'm intrigued by it, they must be doing something right? That's all I'm going to say. Edge in the Hall of Fame. That's my score for this week. Really. And it's no disrespect to the Horsemen. I didn't watch the Horsemen a lot when I was, watching WCW. By the time I've been a WWE fan for all of my wrestling fan life, I picked up on WCW when the Horsemen had changed, and it was, Benoit and Malenko and Mongo McMichael and Flair, I think. So the original Four Horsemen, I didn't watch. It's not to say that they weren't awesome. It's not to say that they didn't, carve a path, carve a trail, set the wheels in motion for things like the NWO, things like DX, The Nation, Heart Foundation, things like that. It's not to say that they didn't do all that, but it doesn't hit me. It doesn't hit me right here. Hits me right here, Edge. And there's a hashtag that my friend Angela uses all the time. By the way, check her out at the Orton Storm on YouTube. She's very good at stuff. But she did a video recently about fans since day one. And I can hashtag myself fan since day one of Edge. I remember Edge coming in when he was coming in from the crowd, and his entrance video was him running around in a subway in Toronto. I can reference, when he had his rivalry with Gangrel. I can remember when Gangrel brought in Christian. I can remember when Christian and Edge left Gangrel, etc., etc., etc. All the way to the, the rivalry with the Hardy Boys, all the way to Edge and Christian splitting up again, all the way to, him being a world champion, partnering up with Lita, having the live sex celebration, and main eventing WrestleMania against The Undertaker. I can tell you about it from day one until now. I can't give you dates and, he beat this person on this day at this time, da-da-da-da, but I can tell you all the major stuff that happened, and I can tell you that I've seen 99% of it. So, am I going to mark out for Edge a lot more than I'm going to mark out for the Four Horsemen? I'm sorry, but the answer is yes. Score. Brodus Clay debuted against Curt Hawkins. The only good thing I have to say about this is that it meant we saw Curt Hawkins on Raw for 5 minutes. Curt Hawkins and Tyler Rex should be in the title picture more for the Tag Team Championships. I'm just going to say it once and leave it at that. The Jericho questions continue. The Jericho intrigue, the silence, the baiting of the fans continues right, almost unstopped from last week. And that's amazing. I can't wait to see who he goes against. We all pretty sure it's going to be Punk, but, they could throw us a swerve like they did with some other stuff tonight. Holy shit. Now, fails. Jinder Mahal, Santino Marella, and the Cobra. Just wipe all three of those out of my memory and I will be a happy kid. Brodus Clay. Dear Jesus, what the hell did they do with Brodus Clay? They made him into the Funkasaurus. They made him into this, retro pimp character. And here's the fun thing about this. First of all, I went to work trying to say how I would describe this new persona. I describe this as, the love child of Big Daddy V, Dusty Rhodes, and The Godfather. And for anybody that used to be a long-term WCW fan, if you ever remember Ernest the Cat Miller, they're reusing Ernest the Cat Miller's old music, Somebody Call My Mama. It's an old-ass track. It's an old-ass gimmick. It's all horrible, and he's very, very large guy gyrating in the ring, and even Curt Hawkins looked freaked out by it, and Curt Hawkins sold how much he was freaked out by this guy all the way through the match, and that, to his credit, was awesome, but there's nothing good about what they've done with Brodus Clay in the slightest. That's all I'm going to say about that. I already touched on it, but the whole Zack Ryder changing the tire bit was lame. The one thing I will say, and people get on me all the time for picking on John Cena, once again, Cena can't sell to save his life. Now, Cena was beaten down by Kane, like, for the past, what is it, 3 or 4 weeks now? He was beaten down at the beginning of this episode of Raw, yet when he's going down for his title match with, or not his title match, but his main event match with Dolph Ziggler, he's not only making his, you know, little side conversations with the camera and joking around and making fun of Ziggler for being the show-off, but he's sprinting to the ring and he's doing that little jump and slide thing into the ring that he does, you know, absolutely paying no acknowledgement to the beatdown that he got from Kane earlier in the night. It's one of the reasons I can't stand Cena. Now, not really a score, not really a fail, but something funny that I noticed on Raw, and it has to do with Vicky Guerrero. Now, Vicky Guerrero is in the corner of Jack Swagger, obviously. So when Jack Swagger fought CM Punk, she was shouting words of encouragement to him throughout the match, and we all know she's got a very high-pitched, crackly voice, so we can hear it quite clearly on our television screens and through our television speakers. But the one thing she kept shouting to Swagger tonight when he was facing CM Punk was, you know, "You're the real champ. Show him who the real champ is, Jack. You're the real champ." Whereas it wasn't a title match, and the guy that actually has a title match coming up soon was standing outside the ring next to her in Dolph Ziggler. Now, I know it's a small thing, and I know what they're trying to do mentally there, but it's a little thing, but the little things matter. Moving on. MVP for tonight is Kane, and no, I'm not just saying it because he beat down Cena, but I'm saying it because of this. A year ago, if you had told me that Kane was going to be back in a main event spot again, I would have rolled my eyes and groaned and turned off my television because I thought Kane was a big, jacked up jobber, like The Big Show, like, you know, like a Giant Gonzalez or a Gene Snitsky. Kane has gotten himself to a point now, not only with his physical presence and what he's done to Cena, but on the mic as well, showing how far he's improved his mic skills, that he deserves to be back in the main event scene, doesn't it? And I never would have thought that I would ever say that again. So my sheer, you know, surprise / admitting that I was wrong gets Kane the MVP spot for January 9th. Okay, before I go, as I always do, let's check out how the Fave 5 did tonight. Randy Orton is still out. Miz got taken out by R-Truth again. Ziggler questionably beat Cena because we don't know if he won by countout. But even if he didn't win, even if he didn't beat Cena, he didn't lose to Cena. Think about it that way. Rhodes wasn't on the show tonight, and Punk got a very, very questionable win over Jack Swagger, which really, really doesn't get you any points in real life. But that's about it. That's all I've got to say. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, let me know what you think, and I will talk to all you guys later. I'm tagging out. Bye.
Get up, come on, get down.